Parties on Takia versus Pellin. All parties on Takia versus Pellin. Step forward, please.
Mark Takier says this case came about because he stole the heart of Dale Pellin's wife, Millie. Now, Mark and Millie are together in court suing Dale for dumping Mark's box of tools.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, it's number 70 on the calendar in the matter of Takier versus Pellin. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Let me see if I can place this case in some sort of an order. You, sir, and your wife were separated.
Correct.
And you were a friend of the defendant's wife.
Yes, I worked with her for about a year.
And you are the defendant's wife? I saw that motion. So you asked the defendant's wife if you could store some boxes in her house and garage, leaving your house. And she said yes.
Yes.
Took over these boxes, 3 or 4 boxes?
It was one box. It was a moving box, 2 by 2 by 3, and had numerous tools in it. Yes.
One box?
One box that was stored in the garage, and a couple other smaller boxes that had household items that they stored inside the house in the foyer.
Okay. And then the defendant and his wife separated. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you left the house, sir?
Yes, I did.
And then, according to the papers, you started to date the defendant's wife.
That's
correct? And then Mr. Pelland, you found out about that?
Yes, I did.
And got angry?
Real angry, yes.
And did something with his boxes?
Yes, I did.
What'd you do?
Your Honor, there was 3 boxes that were in the garage, all about the same size. I had asked my wife to remove those since I was still paying rent on the house. The house was still legally in my name. I asked her to remove those. I didn't want this gentleman around my home or my children at the time. The 2 boxes were then removed from the house, and the 3rd box was left, about the same description that he described. I then took that box, since he had left it behind, brought it to the gym in which I worked, told my wife if he wanted it, he could come pick it up there.
And then what happened?
What happened was it stayed there for about a week or 2. I told my wife, give him 3 days to come pick it up. He never showed up. It was about a week later. I disposed of the box.
Why were you so angry with him? Why did you leave the house?
Basically, me and my wife had a fight on Friday morning. I told her we'd try to settle this out. I'd leave the house, move in with my brother-in-law for about a week. I moved in with my brother-in-law on a Saturday morning. 2 hours after I left the house, Mr. Takier was in my home, courting my wife.
Yes.
I just want to say that we've been...
Step up, please.
We've been separated since a year ago, December. You know, living in the same house but in separate rooms. I mean, not really as man and wife, so...
Is that right, sir?
We were living in separate rooms but still had consensual sexual activity.
Well, but you were living in 2 separate rooms because you weren't having
we were having
a good time together?
We were having some marriage problems, financial problems at the time, and there was a couple other things that came up that I don't wish to discuss here.
Okay, but this didn't come as a surprise to you?
No.
Okay. Did your husband ever give you a message to give to the plaintiff that he had 3 days to get his stuff or it was going to be thrown out?
No. I was in the kitchen when he was talking to him on the phone. I had just come in from the grocery store, and like he had said, you know, your stuff's at the gym and it's safe. You know, I'm sorry for everything that's happened. I was just really jealous and upset, and I moved it over there. But anytime you want it, come to the gym and get it. And those were his exact words.
What was in this box, sir?
Numerous power tools, hand tools, carpenter's tools, finishing tools, a couple of jack stands, hydraulic jack, numerous tools.
That sounds like some big box, sir.
It was, well, 12 square foot, 2 by 2 by 3.
It says here that some of the items belong to your late father.
Yeah, the tool pouch that he used when he used to hang drywall was also in there.
Mr. Pelland, let me tell you why you have a problem, sir. You did not have permission to touch his stuff. Your wife was living in the house. You have kids?
Yes, 4.
And how long had you been living in this house?
3 years.
You have a lease?
Yes.
Lease in both your names?
No.
Just in yours?
Yes.
But she was living there, so she was the de facto resident of the house and clearly had the ability to give someone else permission to store something in the house.
Judge Judy will be right back.
You don't wait until the day of trial to sit back and say, let me see, was it really only worth $500?
Mark Takier says this case came about because he stole the heart of Dale Pellin's wife, Millie. Now, Mark and Millie are together in court suing Dale for dumping Mark's box of tools.
Mr. Pellin, I can understand why, from your perspective, you were angry and did whatever you did by taking the stuff. That's an emotional reaction. However, nobody gave you permission to take it out. The resident in that house, that was your wife, had given him permission to store his stuff there. You elected to take his stuff, and if you elected to take his stuff and keep it in your place of employment, you had a responsibility to keep it and to safeguard it.
Your Honor, if I may inject, why were 2 boxes removed and the one now that is suddenly grown in value from $500 to $1,200 in one day? Mysteriously, all of a sudden, a big problem for Mr. Takier.
All I have is a claim for $500.
I was just served for he just this morning increased it to $1,200.
Mr. Takier,
Yes.
let me explain something to you, sir. You don't wait until the eve, I would call it the eve of trial, which is the day of trial, to sit back and say, let me see, was it really only worth $500? You sued him for $500, and I am not accepting an amended complaint at this late hour. Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. We're talking about $500.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good. Now, you had a responsibility to safeguard those items once you took them. You might have done things to protect yourself, like sending him a registered letter and saying, you have 3 days to remove the property from my place of business, listen to me, and failure to do so, I will not hold them any longer. You could have brought them back to your house, because I'm sure you go there to see your children, right? Mm-hmm. You chose not to do that. You chose to throw them away, and you had no right to dispose of his property that you didn't have permission to take in the first place. So the judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I'm a little disappointed that the amended claim wasn't acknowledged, but I'm satisfied with it.
The only thing I felt was that she didn't actually go over the contents of the box and declare any kind of value of it. He could have said whatever he wanted was in there, and she just accepted it as fact.
And now, the next case.
All parties on Steiger versus Smith.
Les Steiger left his wife Judy for his new lover Karen Smith. Then he went back to Judy, but he forgot his Seiko watch, and now he wants it back.
Judge, this is number 44 on the calendar, the matter of Steigers versus Smith. All parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Mr. Steigers, your complaint alleges that Miss Smith has your watch.
Yes, ma'am.
And she says that you gave it to her.
No, Your Honor, I did not give a watch to her.
Well, how'd she come to have your watch in her possession?
Well, okay, I was seeing her prior to leaving my home. My wife found out about it. I moved in with her. I lived with her for about 6 weeks. I decided to move back with my family, make peace with my family, and I have kids involved. I think kids are very important to be with the family. So I moved back home with my wife. We've worked out our differences. We're doing great right now. After the fact of that, I left personal belongings behind.
Why did you leave personal belongings behind?
Well, I didn't know that I did, but I left clothing behind, and I didn't know the watch was left behind. I had 2 watches. The one watch is a Seiko watch. This is the one I'm here today with about, and that's the reason why it has similar value to it.
Why does it have sentimental value?
Because it meant a lot. She gave it to me and it meant a lot to me.
Your wife gave it to you.
My wife gave it to me. And so, and the fact that I had this watch, and I gave her boy, it's probably what's happening, I gave her boy another watch.
Gave whose boy?
Her son, 9-year-old, a
Miss
watch.
Smith's son.
His son, a watch. That's what probably got happened. And I didn't think nothing of it. We went out one night. I went to look for the watch in the box, and it was a different watch. That's what happened.
So you want your watch back?
Yes, ma'am.
And you, Miss Smith, you are countersuing because you say that the Steigers, Mr. and Mrs., made a scene at your job, which caused you to lose your job.
Yes, ma'am.
So why did you choose to go to her workplace?
She had no phone.
Just a second.
She has no phone. I knew she wouldn't tie up with me there or my husband. That evening, the same evening, we went to her apartment with a police officer to try to claim it there. No answer. The police officer said if she was there, she didn't have to answer her door.
What did you tell the police to get them to come with you to her apartment?
We told them that my husband had an affair with the woman, had moved in with her, and he decided to move back home, and some of his belongings were left, clothing and also the dress watch.
Where was this? In what police department?
Bellflower.
In California?
Right.
They must have nothing better to do in California. I tell you.
So
right now in New York, they would not accompany you to somebody's house where I was brought up. I mean, this is clearly a civil matter. Why would somebody waste their time? Police should be out catching criminals.
Judge Judy will return in a moment.
And you're standing there talking to me almost angelically today, but I believe that you are very angry that your husband went to live with this lady. I mean, otherwise, I cannot imagine why you're here suing over a Seiko watch.
Les Steiger left his wife Judy for his new lover Karen Smith. Then he went back to Judy, but he forgot his Seiko watch, and now he wants it back.
Miss Steigers, let me stop you for a second.
Okay.
You went to her job
Yes, I did.
because you said it was the only way you had to get in touch with her. I don't necessarily buy that. I think that you wanted to humiliate her because clearly you knew where she lived because you went to her house. Later. Mm-hmm. First, let's hear about the watch.
Well, he came to my home. He said his wife was abusive and that she was making his life miserable. He had nowhere to go. He went to a mutual friend. She said he couldn't stay there. So being a friend and knowing him for so many years, I thought, well, I've got a couch. He can come sleep on the couch. So I let him come there, and one day I was late getting back from lunch because I didn't have a watch, and I had told him about it, and he said that, he said, I've got the extra watch. He said, you can have it. He says, I never wear it. I don't like it. And, you need a watch. The next thing I know, he's gone home, which, that's his choice. I mean, there's nothing, that's his wife and his family, so he really, really should be. And then all of a sudden they're saying, that they want the watch back. And I thought, well, it's a gift. I would have given it back. I had it with a friend because my apartment, it looked like somebody had tried to break into it, so I gave it to a friend who had a friend that has a safe. I figured it would be safe there. I didn't want to lose it. Well, I got it back from them. I had it on my counter to give back to a mutual friend, to give back to them. And the last time I saw it was sitting on the counter. I haven't seen it since. I don't know what happened to it. I don't have the watch.
Now I want you to tell me what happened because you're countersuing them for $250 for lost wages. So now I understand the watch story. Now let's understand the countersuit.
Okay, once he came, to stay with me, she would start coming to my work on numerous occasions. She would call. She would come in. She'd just stand there. And, if I was trying to work, she would stand in my way. And eventually it got to the point where on this November 11th, they both came into the store and caused a scene. One of the customers
Well, tell me,
complained.
that's what I want to hear about because you said that scene precipitated you losing your job.
I was working straightening aprons. They came to me, and I was trying to work, so I wasn't really watching them. And they were talking about, well, you got to give the watch back, or we're going to sue you. Oh, it's worth a lot of money. You better give it back. And I told them, I says, I've lost it. I don't know what happened to it, and it was a gift. Why are you hassling me over a gift? And they just kept on and on. I finally walked away because I didn't want to get in some kind of altercation because I don't want to fight with somebody in the store. That's going to ruin the business. That's going to ruin my job.
So what happened?
I eventually, to go home, the boss sent me home because of all the problems, and he knew I was upset. I had to call the Lakewood Sheriffs to come escort me home because I feared for my safety, because they would not leave. They might have gone outside the mall. They went outside the mall, but they were out. They were waiting for me.
Well, they don't look dangerous. And you're standing there talking to me almost angelically today, but I believe that you are very angry that your husband went to live with this lady. I mean, otherwise, I cannot imagine why you're here suing over a Seiko watch. I mean, we're not exactly talking Rolex here. We're talking a Seiko watch that at most is worth $300, right? I mean, you got just a second, and you got your husband back.
Right. Right.
I'm very happy.
So why would you want to mix it up with this lady unless you were very, very angry?
She's ready to rule after this.
I don't think you had any business going to her place of employment, but that's not an offense.
Like I said, I was only trying to get
She didn't have a
back
phone either.
the watch.
Well, what did you have anything to do with the watch about? It was his watch. If he wanted to get back the watch, he's a big boy. Let him get back the watch. What do you have to butt in, to mix in with his business for?
I think a lot of the problem is she thinks that there was more, that there was some kind of relationship, and it was just a friend helping a friend.
That's not what he says.
I don't know why he's saying what he said. I care about him. He's a good friend. I mean, I helped him out, and she's under the assumption
Your
that I
Honor?
stole her husband away from her, and I
Your
didn't.
Honor, also, while my husband was there, he bought her a refrigerator, a lamp, some other things, the boys' clothing, her clothing.
That made you mad. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
But look, Miss Steigers, you got him back.
Right.
Right?
So I'm the winner, actually.
Maybe not. How long have you been married?
We will be married 25 years, 1st of July.
I don't, sir, necessarily believe your story that during the 6 weeks or 5 weeks that you stayed with her, or 3 weeks, that you might not have said to her, you need a watch? Take this one. I don't want it. I can't tell, quite frankly, because I wasn't there, but common sense dictates to me that that is a real possibility, that you said, take the Seiko. And then when you went home, your wife said to you, where's the Seiko? And you said, I don't know where it is. So I'm dismissing your complaint. You got him back? Be happy. Go get him another watch for your 26th wedding anniversary. As far as your counterclaim is concerned, you always know that you have trouble when you let a married man come into your house. You knew she was angry. When what you described, the scene that you described in the store where you work, wasn't that much of a scene. It was an uncomfortable situation where they came into the store.
I do have a letter from my boss that states that it was an ongoing thing, and that's why I was fired.
Well, that's unfortunate, but that's one of the things. It may be ongoing, but they came. They want the watch back. She wanted the watch back. They didn't fight with you. They didn't pull your hair.
If they would like, they could come search my house, and I show them it's not there. I don't have it.
What I'm telling you is they didn't do anything there other than come in and make you uncomfortable. That's what she wanted to do. She wanted to make you uncomfortable because you had made him too comfortable. That is not an actionable offense. So the complaint and the counterclaim are dismissed.
Your Honor.
Period. End of discussion. Take him, go home, be well, be happy together forever.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All parties on Singer versus Delana. Step forward, please.
Bill Singer has called the cops and even child welfare on his neighbors, Rick and Dana Delana, claiming their kids make too much noise. They say he's an old grouch.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is number 58 on the calendar in the matter of Singer versus Delana.
Thank
All parties
you.
have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Singer.
Good morning.
According to your complaint, sir, which I have read, you are a renter.
Exactly.
Are these the two Delana children?
Yes, they are.
the subject of the complaint?
They're the culprits right there.
Well, they're adorable. If they're quiet, they can stay. Otherwise, they can go play outside. Okay? But they are adorable.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
You are a renter in what you describe as a lovely condominium complex.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you say that the defendants and their 2 little children have made your life miserable because of noise and threats and harassment, and you're suing them for $5,000.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Judge.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you're going to have to step up. Come with me.
The Delinas are countersuing $5,000 because they say that you have been harassing them and, among other things, that you call Child Protective Services.
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right. Well,
3 times, Your Honor.
let's start with your end. First, tell me, Mr. Singer, where is this condo located?
It's in Toluca Lake area, North Hollywood.
And is it a single-level unit or is it a double-level
It's a
unit?
double unit. There are about 21 units in the building.
How much do you pay in rent in this?
$1,500 a month.
And how many bedrooms do you have?
3 bedrooms.
You have a roommate, according to your complaint.
Yes, my witness, Tony Bond.
Okay.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. You want to stand up here with him?
Sure.
Good. When did you move in?
July 1995.
And tell me what happened when you moved in. First of all, could you tell me what that bird is doing here?
Yes, the bird, apparently they've complained to the health department that the bird flies over the swimming pool and drops in the pool, and they cannot swim in the pool because of that, and the bird makes noise in the daytime and not allowing them to sleep.
You let the
And-
bird out of a cage?
No, the bird is in a cage. I have 4 small birds, and they were out on the patio as a part of my lease agreement.
Well, when did the trouble begin with these folks?
About a week or so after we moved in, when I heard a lot of noises from upstairs, I went to them with a warm hand and a bottle of wine, and I was turned away. I asked to see what the layout of their apartment was so I could understand better why certain sounds were coming down so strongly. And my office and my partner's office are both in the upper floor, and we cannot get any work done. It's day or night. It starts, I have a log just of the last few weeks.
Well, describe this noise to me, sir.
I have a videotape, Your Honor, that attests to some of the noise that I hear in my chapel when I'm trying to have a private moment to pray, and also videotape showing the exterior of the building, and a confrontation when Mr. Delana came down to the apartment with 4 guys, almost broke the door down, and was wanting to get in a fight. And I had a video camera handy, and I pulled it up. I would apologize to the court for my language, because after you get to a certain point with people like that, after 18 months, one does get his terminology to Mr. Bond when Mr. Bond confronted him, nothing but 4-letter words. And one
Was
of
this
his...
before or after you called Child Protective Services?
No, I called Child Protective Services probably about 4 or 5 months ago after I heard in the evening.
No.
Yes.
Did
3 times before.
Did the animus...
I beg your pardon. I did not call 3 times.
Just
sir.
a second.
I called 1 time.
Did the animus develop into really heated confrontation
Yes.
before or after you called Child Protective Services?
Long time before, Your Honor. He
Let me
tried
see
to
your
run
tape
me
so I can
down-
put this house in
Tried to
perspective.
run me down with his car 3 times.
This is the exterior of the building.
That's
Looks
the
like a lovely
interior of the
courtyard.
courtyard, yes. And that's the chapel and my bedroom on the 2nd floor.
What floor are you on? 3rd floor.
It's not so funny when you have to live and listen to it all day. and
Mr.
all
Singer.
night.
It's not my noise.
He came to the door, banging on the door very loudly, and when the door was open, he tried to strike me.
Well, why did he do that, sir, at that particular time? What kind of problem had you had? Just immediately proceed.
Yeah, I think so. And you, my friend, please stay out of this because this is none of your kind. Listen to me.
I heard some accusations that I didn't like.
Yeah, what's
That were
what?
false.
False what?
False that you guys say, what was on the video camera?
You didn't want to be a civilized man.
You know what? It's his daughter's birthday. That's why we're celebrating. So that's all. We appreciate this little consideration. That's all.
Thank you. See, there's a gentleman right here. And I'll do it because of him.
Thank you.
You came down there with some friends because something...
I came down by myself, Your Honor. My friends just came down for support.
Whatever. You came down there with some friends. Correct?
4 of them.
Stop. I don't need any help, sir.
Excuse me.
Why did you go down to his apartment?
It was my baby's 2nd birthday, and we decided because we didn't have time to throw a proper party, we'd have like a little cake and coffee from 5:30 to 7:30. It was her 2nd birthday. Okay. I had my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my brother, his wife, and some friends over. Just a handful of people. 5:30 to 7:30, Your Honor. They decided to put on their pounding music, the music that they play all the time to drive everybody in my house to the top level because...
What kind of music is it?
It's drum. Boom, 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 boom. They put speakers up to the ceiling. Boom, 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 boom. Full blast. Boom, 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 boom.
Just a second. No, it's true. And I'm going to tell you why I know it's true, Mr. Singer.
I have...
Just a second. I'm going to tell you in a second why I know it's true, Mr. Singer. Because...
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Mr. Delana got after Mrs. Delana because she didn't want to have sex. And he screamed at her and said, our children will never be normal because of the way you take care of them. And then I heard the child screaming, the older child screaming. And I wanted to call the police right then.
Bill Singer has called the cops and even child welfare on his neighbors, Rick and Dana Delana, claiming their kids make too much noise. They say he's an old grouch.
Now, you know why I know it's true? Because of something that you said at the very end of this tape, sir. When you said to the defendant, when he was leaving, one of his friends said, we're just having a party, and we just like to enjoy the party. And you said what?
There is a gentleman, yes.
What? No, you said what to him in the tape?
I told the defendant, there is a gentleman. If I'll turn the sound down, I'll do it because of his friend.
That's right.
Because he came and talked
just a second.
Me.
Just listen to me. So what happened was you were playing the music very loud. You knew you were playing it very loud because you said to his friend, because you talk nicely, I'll turn it down. I have a sense, sir, from just listening to that tape and hearing what happened, and this was your tape, this was your evidence,
yes, ma'am,
that you do things to purposefully bother them. Now, I don't know, I'm going to get to whether they do things to purposefully bother you, but it's clear to me from that tape and from what you said on the tape, sir, that you retaliate for the noise that you hear purposefully.
We do, and we have tried everything else, Your Honor.
After reading your complaint and after reading their answer, there was one thing that put me off. And the one thing that put me off in your complaint was the fact that you called Child Protective Services on these people.
Yes, Your Honor, may I explain?
Yeah, I'd like to hear, I read your initial explanation of why you called Child Protective Services. I'd like to hear you tell it to me.
I called one evening at 9:30 in the evening, and I have a date in here, and I gave it to Your Honor. Mr. Delana got after Mrs. Delana because she didn't want to have sex. And he screamed at her, and said, may I say it? I know you'll bleep me. May I say it? Our children will never be normal because of the way you kowtow to them. Our children will never be normal because of the way you take care of them. And then I heard the child screaming, the older child screaming. Then the tone changed to a different kind of scream. And I wanted to call the police right then. Mr. Bond said, no, let's not get into this. But I thought about that all night long, and I heard Mrs. Delana all night long going downstairs, running up and down the steps. So I called in the morning to the police department, and I told them the situation, asked for advice. They said, we are going to take a report, but you call this 800 number. I called the 800 number, explained just what I've told you, and I said, I don't know if there's abuse going on, but this is what I heard. maybe there's no mark on the children's body, but what about their mind? What about spousal abuse, domestic abuse, and those little children being there and listening to all the four-letter words? I mean, I was abused as a child. I know that can affect you.
These people are a married couple, and married people have a fight. You didn't hear children being abused. You didn't hear children being struck. You heard, based upon what you just told me, Mr. Singer, a man having a fight with his wife because he didn't like the way she was bringing up the children at that moment. And he was using some bad language. If we call Child Protective Services, Mr. Singer, over every domestic squabble, the 800 Child Protective Hotline would soon be overloaded and out of business. There's a difference between child abuse and domestic verbal fighting.
I'll wait till it's our turn when you come to us, because
there's a lot of lying going on.
It's just too much.
Mm-hmm. And I have never called the Humane Society or the health service for his bird. I've never.
have a copy of that.
No one is
Mr.
allowed to
Delina,
touch
I want you to be
children.
quiet. I mean, I will tell you right now, between you and your wife, I'd rather hear her. Okay, because you are at a different level with these people than she is.
That's so frustrating.
Of anger. All right.
And yes, we have had arguments, but never about what he's mentioned either.
I got a sense that that the reason for the argument was fabrication, because certainly the content of what he described, that an argument over the children, had nothing to do with sex.
No.
All right.
Judge Judy returns in a moment.
We know that they can be quiet, because the day they got served with this lawsuit, they were quiet for 2 days, and then all of a sudden they rebelled and started the pump. I sneezed in my chapel once, and someone up above stomped so loudly on the floor that the shell of the sprinkler system fell off.
Have either of you thought about moving?
We've been working on it. We're looking for homes to buy.
Well, I think that that's a very good idea.
Yes.
Our suit is for the unnecessary noise. We know that they can be quiet, because the day they got served with this lawsuit, they were quiet for 2 days, and then all of a sudden they rebelled and started the pump. I sneezed in my chapel once, and someone up above stomped so loudly on the floor that the shell of the sprinkler system fell off.
Then you know what that tells me, Mr. Singer? That tells me that there is an insulation problem where you live.
Yes, that's true
because if
as well.
Just a second, because if you sneezed where you are and somebody could hear it upstairs sufficiently to retaliate by banging downstairs, Mr. Singer, then that suggests to me that even if they were trying to be as quiet as possible, because I'm sure you didn't sneeze like an explosion.
Right, Your Honor.
Right?
That's right.
That even if they were just doing the normal things that one does, it would bother you. It would bother you because of the insulation. That is not harassment, sir. People have to be smart when they have young children. They should not move into a third-floor unit unless the people immediately below them are a little hard of hearing, or unless you have 6-inch padding, because children create noise. You can't live in a place where there are families, sir, and expect there to be quiet.
Yes, Your
You
Honor,
can't.
I realize that.
But I'm going to tell you something else, Mr. Singer, and I'd like this message to reach as many people as I can. Child abuse is a very serious problem in this country. There are too many people in this country who hear children being abused and who turn a deaf ear and don't report it. And we try, and we've become acutely aware of the fact that in order for children to be protected, sometimes neighbors have to get involved, teachers have to get involved, even private citizens walking in a mall have to get involved if they see a child being unnecessarily harshly abused.
Exactly.
But that's not something we abuse in retaliation for a landlord and tenant dispute.
Right.
And I think you did that. They were bothering you. You were going to bother them. You're not particularly fond of their children. You don't dislike them, but you're not particularly fond of their children. That's clear to me. Their children are making noise. Their children are bothering you. You weren't particularly concerned with their children.
Your Honor, when I came to them with a warm hand, I asked him if he wanted to get the little child into a television commercial. I thought the child was very cute.
Well, that's nice. They weren't abusing their children. And once you get a call from the State Central Registry and you send out child protective workers to your house, it's like glue. It's like sticky stuff. It doesn't come off so easily. The call is quickly made, and I'm not suggesting that anyone should be reluctant to call protective services, but only when it's legitimate. When it's not legitimate, you can destroy people's lives. It's like getting a bad credit rating that's wrong with TRW, and you can never get out of the system. You did it because you were annoyed with them, and they were interfering with your sleep.
She's ready to rule. Stay tuned.
Your lawsuit is dismissed. Now you have a counterclaim.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm going to address your counterclaim. He's annoyed by what goes on upstairs. And it's true that it's probably interfered with his quiet enjoyment of his apartment. There is no question about that. Because if you heard him sneeze and retaliated as a result of that, that means you could hear what goes on in his apartment, too.
I never heard him sneeze, Your Honor.
Well, somebody might have, Mr. Delina, and I'm not sure I believe you either. I believe her.
That's okay, Your Honor.
Just a minute. I believe her.
Okay.
Now, you might not be constantly making noise. These folks are sensitive.
I understand.
The acoustics are not good. Clearly, you two people should not be neighbors. But that doesn't mean that that's worth a lawsuit. The only thing that really concerns me is this call to the State Central Registry.
That's why
Because I believe that that is a form of harassment that has been abused and was abused in this case. You take matters of landlord and tenant to landlord and tenant court. You take the matter to the your local housing association. You don't involve the state because that stays on their record in practically every jurisdiction, even if the report is unfounded. The report is unfounded. One would think that it's taken out of the computer and nobody will ever see it. Unfortunately, once social workers come out to their house on a report of suspected child abuse, that will stay in their record until, in most jurisdictions, until the youngest child is 18 years old. That's a long time for a phone call. So I am awarding the defendants on their counterclaim for that harassment only, because I find that that was harassment, some $1,000. Thank you very much. That's all. That's it.
Judge Judy will return in a moment.
Vickery, step forward, please.
20-somethings Julie Petrowski and Carrie Pomeroli and their girlfriend shared an apartment with Raymond Vickery. When things went bad, they say he stiffed them for the rent.
Order. All rise. Okay, Judge, this is a mouthful. This is number 63 in the matter of Petrowski, Pomeroli versus Vickery. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
Who's going to talk for the plaintiff? Who are you?
My name's Carrie Pomeroli.
Kerry. And you are?
Raymond.
Raymond. Okay. 4 of you young people decided to share an apartment together.
Correct.
How large is this apartment?
1,600 square feet. 3 bedrooms.
And somebody's father had a co-sign on the lease. Yours. And then you all signed the lease too. 3 girls, 1 guy. Big mistake. And there came a time, sir, that you decided you didn't like living there anymore.
That's right.
And that was a couple of months after you moved in?
Mm-hmm.
What didn't you like about living there?
Well, let's say we were entirely incompatible as roommates, and the friendship...
You mean you couldn't tell that before?
Before I moved in with them?
Yes.
No, I couldn't. I didn't know 2 of them before I moved in. I only knew 1 of them.
He was one of my best friends.
We were.
Okay, why were you incompatible?
Well, there were many differences in the way we live. We're very different people. As you can tell, there are obvious differences.
Well, the obvious differences I see, but you saw those at the time you moved in with them.
That's right.
So why did you decide to leave? Because you left, and they're suing you for the rent that you owe, plus your portion of the security deposit that her dad put up.
Right. Well, I left because There were many, many guests who would come on the weekends and during the week. I was never told that they were coming. I was never asked if I minded. These people always stayed in the common room on a sleeper sofa. I would wake up some mornings, walk out, work days, weekends, find total strangers to me, sleeping on the couch. This happened quite often. In addition, things were stolen from my room, from my bathroom.
Like what?
Just a minute.
What do you mean?
Hey.
I have,
Go ahead.
I have proof that things were stolen from my room.
Things, mail kind of things, shaving cream, that sort of stuff?
Documents that had my social security number on it and my credit card numbers. And on one instant, one of the plaintiffs threatened to use my social security number to undermine my credit rating.
We don't have any. Your Honor, he's lying.
Just a second. Who threatened you with that?
Carrie Pomeroli.
Your Honor, he's blatantly lying. You're blatant. Look me in the eye and say that, Ray. Look me in the eye. How could you do this to me?
Listen to
The
me,
night I moved out, Mark heard it.
Don't talk to him. What do you do for a living?
I'm a caterer. I just graduated from college.
How old are you?
23.
And you?
I'm 23.
And you?
22. 22.
You're the other roommate?
Yes.
So it wasn't working out. You had a 1-year lease? Is that what you had, or a 6-month?
6 months.
6-month lease. Now, according to your papers, you moved out in November, correct?
That's right.
And you paid up the landlord directly until the end.
Through the end of December.
Through the end of
Which means
December.
that I'm still paying today, and I have receipts.
So, let me see.
These are my payments highlighted. The final receipt says that I've paid only through December 14th. The $174.15, which is an overpayment for November, I'm counting towards the final amount.
So let us assume that you have paid the landlord directly, not these two young ladies.
That's right.
Rent through December. Right now, he doesn't owe you anything. Right now, he doesn't owe rent because he's paid up, according to his receipts, until the end of December. So why are you suing him now?
He's never paid the security deposit he promised.
Okay, just a second. Let's get to security deposit. If your lease goes through when? March?
March 19th.
Okay, and then I assume you're going to get your security deposit back. Correct?
Right.
I assume you're going to leave the place in good condition, and whatever money your father put in towards the security deposit, you're going to get it back. January, February, and March, those 3 months. So there's no need for him to pay any security deposit. Did you have men over at the house? Did you have people over at the house that you didn't discuss with him?
Friends. We never made any agreements
Actually, they
before
were friends of
moved in.
Ray. As a matter of fact, we would all go out together, and they were friends from San Diego. And actually, Ben is a friend of yours, and he came in, and we have a sleeper sofa
Who
that
is
we
Ben?
all.
I don't know who Ben is.
Oh, that's a lie.
That's a lie. We were
Big
friends,
lie.
Your Honor. And when they slept over, they left early the next morning.
Listen, it seems to me you gals didn't think that there was any problem.
No, we wanted
He
to live
thought
with
that
us.
there was a problem.
He never
he
told us.
never brought it up until we decided to have a little meeting about getting things for the apartment. He never said one word until we decided to have a meeting.
The four of us, before we moved out, made an agreement that we would all buy furniture. Ray has not bought a single piece of furniture. He won't pay us for food. He won't pay us any money. When he agreed to tell us, we're not suing him for all the grocery money, hundreds of dollars. We bought him groceries. He eats our food. That's fine.
Well, if you're not suing him for that,
We
We
just
just
want the
want
rent
our
and the
rent.
security
just a
deposit.
second. Listen to me. His rent is paid up, so he doesn't owe you any rent. He doesn't owe. Shh, quiet. Have this. He doesn't owe the landlord any rent. Security deposit is going to be returned to you with the termination of your lease, which is in March. That way, Kerry, your father will not be out of it any money.
He's out of money right now. I have a written letter from him.
He's not out any money now for security deposit because you get that back at the end of your lease.
More in a moment.
I mean, you can go like this all you like, but I'm telling you,
I didn't mean to.
But I'm telling you, I believe that there were things in the closet.
Twenty-somethings Julie Petrowski and Carrie Pomeroli and their girlfriend shared an apartment with Raymond Vickery. When things went bad, they say he stiffed them for the rent.
He has a counterclaim that I find interesting. He says that he was served with papers about this lawsuit 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. And at that time, he and several security officers from the complex where you were living came up to your apartment And describe what you saw in the apartment when you got up there.
Well, I found a male in the common room
Your
with his...
friend?
Listen. Shh. Go ahead.
He was someone that I was an acquaintance with. I don't even know his last name. He's certainly not a friend.
Oh, you visited him in Miami. You flew to Miami to visit him.
I flew to Miami? I've never been to Miami.
Listen to me. You folks are very. You folks are pretty theatrical.
I'm Italian.
You folks are pretty theatrical.
Wait, let's hear this, please.
We've got the plane ticket.
Okay. I'm sorry, Your Honor. You wanted to know what I found.
Yeah, you found a male in the apartment. You knew who this person was, but clearly you didn't invite him to stay in the apartment.
No, I didn't. And I have a signed statement here from security saying that
I don't take statements from security. Now, what did you see?
I found a closet full of clothes.
Where?
In my room, the room that I'm paying rent on, which you have the receipts
What
for.
kind of clothes, sir? What do you mean a closet full of clothes?
Men's clothes that did not belong to me. When I vacated the room, I left the room completely empty. I walked in and I found possessions all over the room. There was a closet full of clothes.
Look me in the eye and say this right.
There was a closet full of clothes. There was stuff on the floor.
You acknowledge that there was somebody in the apartment, this male, whether he knew him, you knew him. He certainly didn't invite him to come over to stay in the apartment because he had already vacated the apartment, correct?
Absolutely.
Good. Now, according to your papers here, this person had come in just for a week or so to visit.
7 days.
That's a week. 7 days is always a week.
Yes.
And when he came, he stayed with you. He stayed with you. Is that correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
How many bedrooms are there in this apartment?
3.
Tell me the sleeping arrangements.
Carrie has her own room. Sonia and I share a room. There's an empty room.
Now, the name of this young man who came over and was a visitor is what? Who invited him?
I did.
And where did he sleep?
On the sleeper sofa to pull out queen-size bed.
Why didn't he sleep in that bedroom that was
There's
empty?
no bed or
There's no
sleeping
furniture.
bag or blankets.
Did you take furniture out with you when you left?
Yes, I did.
So there was no bed in there.
There was no bed. There was a pillow and a sleeping bag.
We don't own a sleeping bag, Your Honor.
Just a second.
There's no
Just a
sleeping bag.
second. There was a pillow and a sleeping bag?
Yes, Your Honor. There was a pillow and a sleeping bag.
Let me see here.
We don't know.
Just a second. Wait
Now,
a second.
Your Honor, I know you don't like statements, but the
I don't
security
like-
guard testifies that there was.
Just a minute. I don't like. Just a minute. Do I not like statements? No, I don't like statements. Yeah, sure. Step up here. You look like a very reasonable young lady.
I'm nothing to do with theater, so I'm not very theatrical. Okay, here is the airline, the receipt from coming to visit. The evening that he's discussing, when he came in with the security guards and the police officer, I was in the kitchen and I was standing there putting my groceries away when Ray walks in, and I've dealt with him this whole time, and I know that we haven't had very good relations. So I see him walk in, and immediately I'm like, "What are you doing here?" So he starts walking immediately to the bedroom. Is standing right there. The police officers and the security guards are standing right there, and I'm looking at them like, "What's going on?" And they're looking at me like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I don't know." And then he walks in the bedroom, takes a picture of the bedroom with nothing in the bedroom. Nothing is in the bedroom.
Who took a picture?
He did, with this little disposable
let me see
camera.
It.
He doesn't have it.
That's perfect. Let me see the picture.
The light was broken. I could not get a picture.
There was nothing in the. There were no lights. There's light in the Judy.
Your Honor.
Ladies. Sir.
Yes.
You don't take statements. I don't care what it suffices to say. A picture would have been nice here. But I'm looking all over here, and I don't see anything in your answer and to this complaint about seeing a sleeping bag. Did I miss something? You said things in a closet, but you didn't say anything about a sleeping bag.
Well, there was that falls under things in my room that don't belong to me, you know.
I don't believe that there was a sleeping bag in there, sir. I don't think that anybody would sleep in a sleeping bag if they had a sleep sofa.
Exactly.
No, but that doesn't. But I believe there were things in the closet. No.
Okay.
I mean, you can go like this all you like, but I'm telling you.
I didn't mean to.
But I'm telling you, I believe that there were things in the closet because I believe while this young man may have slept on the sleep sofa, he stored his stuff that he came with for the week in the closet. Does that sound right to you?
It sounds right.
Just tell you, does that sound right to you?
But
you know, I tell you what. You sit down because I have a truthful person right here.
Please listen to her.
listening to her. She's telling me the truth in a very non-theatrical, straightforward way.
Judge Judy will be right back.
I could understand why 3 women, under certain circumstances, would want to live with one guy. Sometimes guys are handy, they can fix things, you know, they're strong, they can open jars. I can understand that. But I can't understand why a guy would want to live with 3 women.
Twenty-somethings Julie Petrowski and Carrie Pomeroli and their girlfriend shared an apartment with Raymond Vickery. When things went bad, they say he stiffed them for the rent.
You filed your lawsuit at a time when he didn't owe you a dime. But he had, just a minute, he didn't owe you a dime because he doesn't really owe you, he owes the landlord.
Right.
And you're not out any money as a result of that.
Well, here's our lease, and he's on it with his signature till March.
So what?
But it's
see,
illegal
so
for
what?
him.
Just a minute, just a second, so what? He gave you notice. You should, as a matter of fact, keep trying very diligently to get another roommate.
Right.
If you don't, you certainly have the right to come back into a court and say, look, I have January, February, and March rent. I have not been able to find a roommate, and it was his responsibility. He's on the lease, and then you litigate that. But you don't get that now because it could be that tomorrow you will find a roommate, and then you will have not only his money, but you'll have your new roommate's money.
Well, we've
so
asked
you
him
don't
to stay.
just to say he doesn't want to stay with you, and why? Quite frankly, I understand it. Women should live with women.
I agree.
Unless they're married, and men should live with men because as much as my children try to explain to me why it's in vogue to have these mixed apartment dormitory kind of arrangements. I mean, when I went to college, you didn't get above the first floor if you were of a different sex. You know, they called upstairs and you came down. Now everybody shares a bathroom and they share common rooms. I don't understand that. I don't understand, sir, why you, a young man, would want to live with 3 women. It is mind-boggling to me. I mean, I could understand why 3 women, under certain circumstances, would want to live with one guy. Sometimes guys are handy, they can fix things, you know, they're strong, they can open jars. I can understand that. But I can't understand why a guy would want to live with 3 women. They're totally different. They got different nerve endings. They like things neat and orderly, and they like that vacuum cleaners and couches, and they like that. They like all the nice little amenities that make a nest, you know, and men aren't really interested in that most of the time, especially when they're 22 years old. Listen, he doesn't owe you anything. Now, look. Stop making a big deal out of somebody keeping their stuff for 7 days in your closet. You weren't planning to use it anyway, right?
Right.
Good. The complaint is dismissed. The counterclaim is dismissed. Go find the new roommate. Thank you very much. That's all.
What is your excuse? We're stuck
You know, we were good friends once. This didn't need to escalate to this.
I don't know if he was jealous
of us having friends. There was a jealousy factor in there.
It was a wretched misjudgment on my part to think that I could live with these people. I've covered every track. I've paid every bill.
Well, there was a lot of other money owes to my father.
What if we don't get a roommate? Then what do we do about
Then
what
we'll
we
see
own?
you back in court, Ray.
And on Meyer versus Grumshaw, step forward, please.
Lucille Meyer says her 15-year-old daughter, Heather, was assaulted in school by George Grumshaw's daughter, Rebecca. The 2 girls began an argument between classes that turned into a violent brawl. Rebecca says Heather started it.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, all rise. Sir. Judges number 224 on the calendar in the matter of Meyer versus Grumshaw. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, ladies.
You 2 folks are the parents of these 2 young ladies. And you, madam, are suing her father because you allege that this young lady assaulted your daughter in school, caused serious injury.
Yes.
You're suing for both medical bills and pain and suffering.
Yes. I have it all with me, Judge.
Neither of you were at the school at this time, is that correct?
No.
No, ma'am.
So you don't know what happened?
No, ma'am, we don't.
Right? Other than what your daughters tell you. So then why don't you 2 folks have a seat? You 2 ladies step up. Tell me your first name.
My name's Heather.
Heather, can you speak up, please?
Heather.
And tell me what happened.
I knew Becky from junior high when she was in my PE class, and she...
PE, physical education?
Yeah, physical education. And she used to ask me if I was in modeling and stuff, her and her friends, and I was uncomfortable about it, and the principal did talk to her, and she stopped.
So you thought she was bothering you in junior high school?
Yeah.
Okay. That was a while ago.
Yeah. And so my second week of 9th grade year, I was hazed for drill team. And they woke me up on September 13th from my bed and dressed me up as a clown.
Who did?
Drill team.
But she had nothing to do with that.
No, it's getting to the story. She had the PE class right next to drill team with me. And a guy I knew said in the PE class of hers, "She looks cute today, doesn't she?" And she said in reply, "I'm going to kick that Barbie bitch's ass." And went on to tell me.
Did you
how.
hear that?
No, he told me.
Okay, you can't tell me what he told you.
Okay. And so I went to second period where she and her friend would bug me about saying, "Heather, shut up, don't talk." And she had pushed me into my chair in art.
How did she push you into your chair?
She walked by when it was cleanup time and pushed me into my chair.
How physically did she push you into?
She bumped it, and I told her to knock it off, and she stepped on my foot, and I went to go get up, and she tripped.
She tripped?
She tripped.
And fell?
Mm-hmm. She didn't fall. She
didn't fall?
She didn't fall, but she lost her balance and went back to her seat. And the bell rang, and we all rushed for the door, and I was one of the first people out. And I heard her friend say, "Becky, wait up." And she said, "No, I had to help the Barbie bitch out the door." And I turned around to say...
Who said, "Let's help the Barbie bitch out the door"?
Becky.
Go ahead.
And so I turned around and say, "What?" And she tripped me. And then she proceeded to pick me up and throw me into the wall. And then from there, I said, "What are you doing?" And she just came after me and repeatedly hit me into the wall again. Then took my head and hit me from every direction of my head into the wall. Then she dropped me and I fell on my knees. And I tried to get up, but I was unable to get up because my knees were hurting so bad. And then she picked me up again by my t-shirt and started hitting me to the wall about 20 times, I'd say. And then I remember her dropping me, and she was cussing at me at this time, and I was crying.
What was she saying to you?
She said, "I'm going to kill you, Barbie bitch. I'm going to f you up."
Why does she call you Barbie bitch? Because she thinks that you believe she thinks you look like a Barbie doll?
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember falling on the ground, because she pushed me on the ground, and she picked me back up again by my head, my hair, started socking my face. Then she tried to headbutt me, and I used my hands to stop her from doing that. She threw me on the ground by my face. I rolled over and tried to get up, but my backpack pushed me down.
You have hospital report?
Yes. Yes.
Could I see the hospital report, please? Okay, Becky. I'd like to hear your version of what happened.
I've known Heather since junior high, but like, this is the 9th grade, second week of 9th grade.
What happened to junior high? She says that there was a problem.
Words were thrown back and forth. Just like when we would change PE, I was made fun of because I was big-chested in junior high. They would all make fun of me when I changed in PE, and but stuff like that, name calling, and it went back and forth, and then it quit because we had to sign a contract.
Who signed a contract?
Both of us did, stated that we would not talk or be around each other. And then I changed my PE class because I wasn't supposed to be around her. They changed my PE class.
So they changed your class?
And they changed my class. And then we were coming out of art, and this is in the 9th grade. And we were coming out of art, and I did not push the chair into her. I was on the other side. She was on this side. I was on this side. I was nowhere near her. But we were coming out of art class. I had tripped over her foot. I didn't fall, but I had turned around and she had kicked me in the leg. So I had turned around, and words were shared back and forth, Books were dropped. We were pushing each other back and forth. No heads were hit up against the wall. That I know. We were hitting, and a girl broke it up, and we had our witness, but she didn't come in because she was scared to. But she was...
Don't tell me what your witness was not here was going to tell me. Becky, were you suspended from school?
I was kicked out of school.
As a result of this incident?
As a result of this incident.
Did you ever go back to the school after you were kicked out? Did you ever go to the area of the school? Look at me. Did you ever go to the area of the school after you were kicked out?
No, I did not. I did the one time with my friend Heather to go pick up her sister from school with her mom. And that was the only time.
Uh-huh. Did you ever call her Barbie something?
Oh, when we were in high school, junior high. Barbie.
What about when you were in the 9th grade?
No, there was no name calling. I quit doing that because I got in trouble for it. I got yelled at it and stuff like that, and I didn't do that after that.
Why did you call her this name when you were in junior high, which...
Oh, it wasn't just me. It was, I mean...
I'm not interested in anybody else,
that.
Becky. I'm just interested in you. Why did you call her... She says you called her Barbie bitch.
No, I didn't.
Why did you use the term Barbie in referring to her at all?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. I just...
Oh, sure you do.
It was just a name.
Well, it means something, Becky.
Probably because she's got long blonde hair.
And it wasn't said nicely. It wasn't said, you know, gee, you look so sweet, you look terrific, you look like a Barbie doll. Right?
No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is the only fight my child's been in years. I can't see where it's anything criminal.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lucille Meyer says her 15-year-old daughter, Heather, suffered severe injuries when George Grumsh's daughter, Rebecca, assaulted her in school. Rebecca says she didn't start it.
Did you have a school suspension hearing, Becky?
I don't think so.
Well, when they transferred you to another school.
I was just out of the school and then...
What do you mean
I went
you were
to
just
Tennessee. I went to Tennessee after the fight and stuff. And I went to school out there.
Just a second. What day of the week was this fight?
Oh, God. I don't remember.
Friday.
Friday. When did you go to Tennessee?
Like 2 weeks later.
Did you go to school for those 2 weeks?
No.
Why not?
Because I really, honestly, I don't know. Because I got kicked out of school. I was expelled from the schools, from that school.
Step up, sir. I'm going to ask you some very important questions. Just listen. Does she live with you?
Yes.
Did you get a call from the school?
About the fight, yes.
Were you told to come to school with your daughter?
Yeah, I met with the assistant principal.
Okay. And that was after the fight?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened as a result of that meeting?
I sent her to go visit her mother for a couple weeks because she was pretty distraught. She was hurting. So I sent her to her mother's for a couple weeks. And in turn, she ended up being operated on, and I brought her back home. She had stomach problems, and I brought her back.
Mm-hmm. Is this the first time your daughter's had trouble in school?
Not really. She's had a little bit of trouble and nothing like this.
Well, but she's had trouble in school.
Yes, ma'am.
She's had trouble. I'm not talking about her academic grades. I'm talking about with fighting.
She's had a couple fights.
Right.
Nothing.
Now, nothing as serious as this.
No.
But they started a while ago. Right?
Well, this is way back in school, yes, ma'am.
They started a while ago. Well, what have you done to try to address this? You have a young lady who has had problems in the past with fighting in school. What have you done to try to address it?
Everything I could.
Like what?
She's gone to doctors.
You mean to psychiatrists, psychologists?
Yes, ma'am.
How long has she been in therapy?
Oh, on and off for quite a while.
Have they come to any decision as to why she acts aggressively?
She's attention deficit disorder. She's been on medication for it, and she seemed to grow out of it. I mean, she doesn't fight with everybody. You know, believe it, it's just a rare occasion with her. She's just not. She's not a fighter.
Well, she is a fighter, sir. I mean,
well,
I had 5 children, and I will tell you that they got into a lot of trouble. Oh. But they didn't get into trouble hitting other people. And your daughter has had that kind of problem, which is one of the reasons that you had her in therapy, I assume.
Not for fighting, ma'am, no.
Well, you should have. Because it's not normal for a young lady to become physical. That's not right.
Well, ma'am, Your Honor, my other daughter, who's living with me now, came back from Tennessee. She got in fights. She was attacked. It happens in school.
Is your name Grumsha?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Grumsha, it doesn't happen in school. It happens if there are 30 million children in school in this country at any one time. It is a minuscule number of children who are involved in fighting, and an even more minuscule number of girls that are involved in fighting. So you can't tell me, you can't say to yourself, well, it happens in school. It doesn't happen in school. You know, girls can be nasty, they can be cutting, they can be gossipy, you know. But I don't buy your daughter's version of these events. I think that she didn't like this young lady for a long time.
No, that's not what it was.
Oh, yeah, I think that that's what it was.
No, it wasn't.
And I think you'd been teasing her for a long time.
I'll admit to be teasing her, but she's not sweet and innocent like she right now shows to be. She's got a mouth on her too.
I don't doubt that, madam. But I don't doubt that she can respond to you. But I think that you were teasing her, whether you were jealous, maybe, envious for some reason, didn't like the way she looked, trying to show off for your friends, whatever reason it was. According to these medical reports, she was injured very badly.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Didn't anybody come and try to stop this when it was happening?
One girl did stop it, but I was unconscious when she stopped it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lucille Meyer says her 15-year-old daughter, Heather, suffered severe injuries when George Grumsha's daughter, Rebecca, assaulted her in school. Rebecca says she didn't start it.
You want to tell me about how long you were out of school?
Me? I went back to school the next week because the doctor told me to.
So you were out of school for a week?
No. I went back to school the weekend after it happened.
Okay, so you went back to school on Monday.
Yeah, but I had to stay at a drill team for at least 4 months after it because...
What's drill team? Explain that.
It's color guard, it's flags for band, and...
Why did you have to stay at drill team?
Because I couldn't lift the flag because my neck and my shoulders hurt too bad.
Were you in treatment during that 4-month period?
Yes, I had treatment from physical therapists for my knees, and I've gone to orthopedic surgeons for my back, and I just started going to a chiropractor.
All right, Ms. Meyer, could you step up, please? Can you tell me what your out-of-pocket medical expenses were?
Our total is $5,141.77.
And what is not covered by insurance?
This is everything that wasn't covered by insurance.
That was not covered by
insurance?
insurance?
Yes, this is not covered by insurance. I calculated everything that was not covered.
Let me see that, please.
Sorry.
I see that there are bills here from a dentist. What happened to your mouth?
It threw my jaw off alignment and pushed it back and wore away at the cartilage. And I have to wear a jaw splint for it to restabilize my mouth.
Tell me about this jaw splint that you have to wear.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah. Let me see. And you didn't have to wear that before?
No.
None of the TMJ specialist, none of that was covered by insurance. That was strictly out of my pocket.
It's more than a pushing. Do you understand that? Do you understand that, madam?
Yes.
This is more than a little pushing. Didn't anybody come and try to stop this when it was happening?
Some people tried to, but they told me they were afraid because I asked some people I knew. And one girl did stop it, but I was unconscious when she stopped it.
You mean you had actually passed out?
I was passed out.
Where were the teachers?
The teacher came out a while after because they had slapped me to wake me up. had woken me up and carried me into the classroom. That happened outside of.
Looks like you've been to see a lot of doctors.
I did.
You have to wear that plate in your mouth all the time?
Yes.
You have pain in the morning when you wake up?
I always have pain.
In your jaw?
Mm-hmm. My jaw and my neck.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Listen, you understand that the maximum that I can award you is $5,000. I quite frankly don't know why you have elected to sue in a small claim situation where the maximum is $5,000. As far as I'm concerned, this young lady is not only responsible for your unreimbursed medical bills, she is also responsible for pain and suffering and whatever long-term physical problems you're going to have. I'm not questioning that. I'm not here to produce more litigation for other courts.
We are also going to criminal court.
I understand, Mr. Grumshaw, that you are, I assume, a single parent raising
Yes, ma'am,
a
I
daughter.
am.
Daughter has been in your custody, and I gather from what you tell me, sir, that you have tried to address some of the problems that you've seen with her ADD, seeing a therapist, being on medication. She went out of control. This wasn't a pushing and shoving.
Your Honor, could I say something, please?
Sure.
When she came home after this scuffle, she complained of stomach aches. She ended up getting operated on for a blockage in intestines, which was caused by adhesions to her appendicitis. I didn't.
That has nothing to do with this fight, sir.
I didn't.
That has nothing to do with this fight, sir. The fact that she added adhesions to her appendicitis when she went down to Tennessee and she was operated on 2 weeks later. You don't get adhesions in 2 weeks. Mr. Grumshaw, don't make 2 months. Don't make excuses, sir.
Not excuses.
Don't make excuses, sir. Your daughter caused some serious damage. She knows she caused serious damage.
Well,
she knows she can't look at me and tell me she didn't provoke
I got
this.
into a fight with her.
You instigated it, and you hurt her seriously, either because you are harboring an old grudge for something that dated back to junior high school, but whatever it is, you lost control, and you have to pay for it. Judgment in the case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next...
on Grotman Pop versus Longo. Step forward, please.
21-year-old dancer Stephanie Puff and her boyfriend Eric Grotman are suing their former friend, dancer Suzanne Longo. They claim Suzanne threw their possessions in a dumpster when she mistakenly thought Stephanie was sleeping with Suzanne's boyfriend.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom.
It's case number 232, Your Honor, on the calendar in the matter of Grotman Puff versus Longo. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
All right. Miss Longo, it is alleged by both of these plaintiffs that you destroyed their property and locked them out of an apartment that the three of you were sharing. You seem to acknowledge in your answer that you did, in fact, lock them out of the apartment, and you did, in fact, take their property and throw it in a dumpster. Is that right?
Yeah. But they didn't live there. It's my apartment. They didn't give me a dime for rent.
Doesn't make any difference. They were living there with you, and you seem to feel as if you had some right to do that. You want to explain it to me?
Well, Stephanie went to San Francisco behind my back to my boyfriend's house and him and thought that she could still be my friend after that. And I was angry, and I called up there, and I found out just to talk to Brad. And so I just threw her stuff in the dumpster. Because and she never was my friend. I went out of my way for her. I've done so many things for her. And she goes, my boyfriend.
How long did you live there?
I was staying there approximately 2 weeks.
And this is your boyfriend?
Yes, it is.
What property did she destroy?
She threw away most of the clothes I own and several pairs of shoes and a very expensive cellular telephone.
We have a list of...
I do, and I also have several receipts.
My God, I couldn't be so specific about what I had in my house as you are. How do you know that these are things that you had there? 6 pairs of socks? 15 pairs of panties? How do you know that?
I'm sure there were more than 6 pairs of socks. I just estimated 6 pairs of socks. There's probably things that are missing that I can't remember.
You had taken none of your property with you?
I had several things with me. A bag.
We just done 3 loads of laundry, and they were all at her house, not to mention a closet full of stuff hanging up that was inside of her home.
Where were you when all this was going on,
I
sir?
was in Los Angeles with a friend, and she was in San Diego where we all live. And she was in San Francisco, I was in LA, and she had assumed that since she went to San Francisco without Suzanne, that she had done it maliciously to sleep with her boyfriend, when in all actuality she was heading to Reno and just got too tired on the trip and decided to stay in San Francisco. And they were going to stay at a witness's house, at her brother's house, and they couldn't wake him up, or that he wasn't home, so they decided to stay at this gentleman Brad's house, who she's referring to. They had stayed there 2 weeks previously, all 3 of them, and so they thought, hey, maybe we can stay there, because we were just there 2 weeks ago. Brad said no problem, and they stayed there.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
There was not a closet full of things, and they did not stay with me for 2 weeks straight. They stayed with me for 1 or 2 days at a time, and there was exactly 2 bags of clothes, and that is all.
What about a phone?
Oh,
cellular phone. She said that you...
I never saw a cellular phone. I never saw a cellular phone.
Well, you were in pretty much of a rage.
Yeah, I was.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, then you have to pay for it.
It could have been in their stuff, and I could have, you know, thrown it away. It could have been in the bag already. There was some clothes hanging up, and there was clothes already in a bag, and I took the clothes that were hanging up and put them in another bag, and I took them and I chucked them in the dumpster because, you know.
Miss Longo.
Your Honor.
Just a second, Miss Longo. You have to pay for that. You can't do that. I mean, you called your boyfriend's house.
I know what I did legally was wrong.
Okay. You called your boyfriend's house. Nobody admitted to you that they were there sleeping together. She has her own boyfriend. I mean, you may not have liked the fact that she went there and stayed at your boyfriend's house without your permission, but you assumed that they were sleeping together. Nobody acknowledged that to you, did they?
His roommate told me.
I don't believe that.
His name's Mark.
I don't believe that. Why would anybody do that? Why would anybody stir up trouble?
I don't understand why she went there behind my back.
That's not the issue.
Understand.
That's not the issue. I mean, he gives a perfectly plausible explanation. The 3 of you had stayed there before. Is that right? If you want to act impulsively, Miss Longo, then you have to pay for it. Your clothes are worth how much, sir?
Mine were there about $4.91 or so. I had some
well,
shoes.
that's not a lot. Women's clothes are usually much more expensive.
Yeah.
He had like 2 shirts.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
What clothes did you have there, sir?
Liar.
What
I have them on the list.
No, tell me what clothes you had there.
I don't recall. It's been 2 months. I had a dress shirt. I had a pair of Airwalk tennis shoes, a pair of flip-flops, a dress shirt that I had.
We've talked about the dress shirt twice. She's going to pay, but she's not going to provide you with a new wardrobe.
No, I understand.
Oh, go ahead, keep going.
And I had the battery for the cellular phone that I purchased. It's a StarTAC. It's one of those little tiny flip phones.
Right, and how much was that?
The battery's $225. The phone was $600.
Phone was $600. Who spent $600? Who?
I made really good money this year, so I bought her a phone.
You bought her a $600 phone and paid $600 for it without a service contract?
I work for the company.
That's it.
I work for GT MobileNet. I made $70,000 in 3 months.
Just to say, that's not what I'm asking you, sir. There isn't a moron in this country that spends $600 for a phone without getting the phone for practically nothing, so that they can. So all you have to do is sign up for a couple of years worth of service, and then you don't spend $600 for a phone. Maybe you spend $200 for a phone.
It was a $1,000 phone, and we got it reduced. It was one of the very small StarTAC cellular phones. You're right. You can get a very large phone for free.
Not a very large.
Okay, you can get an okay-sized phone for free. I got her an extremely small telephone.
Well, why didn't she take this extremely small telephone with her when she was traveling?
I have a car phone,
I
Your
also
Honor.
bought her a car phone that's mounted in her car. So she
Yeah.
took that one because it had roaming capabilities to go into San Francisco. The little small one didn't, so there was no need to bring it. She didn't need two phones.
I don't know if I believe you. I don't know if I believe that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think you need some more plastic surgery and another boob job. See, mine are real.
And later today,
So you called Child Protective Services, sir, because he was using vulgar language.
Well, he was exposing himself to the girls, too.
Judge Judy. 21-year-old dancer Suzanne Longo admits to throwing Stephanie Pop's clothing into a dumpster. Suzanne says she felt betrayed by her former friend when she thought Stephanie was sleeping with her boyfriend.
I don't know if I believe this phone business. Clothes, I believe. Phone, I don't believe.
Your Honor, can I?
Yeah, sure.
My witness, Ashley, she came to the apartment the night we left so I could pick up a few of my things. She was there. You can ask her.
This one?
Yes.
This is Ashley.
Yes.
What do you know about the phone? Right, that you remember specifically that night. Look at me.
She had the phone there. She put it in the bag with all the rest of her clothes. There's 3 bags of clothes in the living room.
Where did she take the phone from?
From the bedroom. I guess she had other stuff in the bedroom. I don't know.
Just a minute. She took the phone from the bedroom and she put it in one of the bags that were in the living room?
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Yeah.
What was the phone doing in the bedroom?
I had my own closet in her room.
Yeah.
And we have the phone plugged in to charge it.
Yeah.
And I thought about taking the phone, and I thought, I don't think it'll work in there, so I put it in a bag of clothes to leave it. I took the things I had and we left.
Ah, baloney. Baloney.
The phone has been shut off. The phone number's been shut off effective July 30th when this happened.
That's fine. Forget the phone. Forget the phone. It doesn't make sense to me that you take a phone out of a bedroom and unplug it where it's being charged and put it in a bag that's sitting in the living room and you're going away. It seems to me if you're going away for a couple of days and if your phone is in your bedroom, you leave it in the bedroom when it happens to be the most expensive thing. Listen, there isn't a question in my mind that you destroyed your property. This is not a windfall.
Can I say one thing?
What?
She had exactly this much space in my closet. And this is how big it was. And this is where the 3 bags sat of clothes. That is all. She didn't have the whole closet. I had my stuff in the rest of the closet.
She said the stuff was in the living room.
She's a liar.
She said the stuff was in the living room.
Your Honor, I had clothes in the living room
I
and
think
I
it
had
was in
my
the
own
closet.
closet. She has 2 closets in her bedroom. One
Is there
closet was
differing
mine,
stories here?
and one closet was hers. And we had just done laundry, so I had 3 bags of laundry in the living room.
Okay. Aside from your 2 dress shirts, sorry, the 1 dress shirt, and then you said you had another dress shirt. You had 2 or 1 dress shirt?
I believe there's 1 dress shirt there.
Okay, so it's a 1 dress shirt, a pair of flip-flops, and sneakers. What else did you have?
I don't recall. When I made up the list 2 months ago when we were trying to do this in August, so I don't. That's
Well,
all
that
that's in
doesn't
my
sound like a
memory.
lot of clothes from somebody who was living there full-time, sir.
I wasn't living there full time, ma'am. She was, and I had just spent the night there a couple of times when she was there.
He had a pair of his jeans that I had bought
Yeah,
him there, too.
that's
They're
right.
expensive jeans from
Lucky's
Nordstrom's.
brand.
Can I be reimbursed for rent since they were living there?
No.
Even though I don't remember her living there?
Just a second. Did you have an agreement with them to pay rent?
No, I let her stay there for 1 day
Then
at
you
a
don't.
time.
Then you had no contract with her to pay rent.
She stayed there for exactly 5 days.
Listen to me. You have to have an arrangement to pay rent, an agreement. And if she doesn't pay, then you have a lawsuit. Do you understand?
Okay.
Good. All right. Sir, you look like a very natty dresser, which means you're a very good dresser. So I'm going to say that you had 1 good shirt, 1 good pair of flip-flops, and a nice pair of jeans. You're going to get $200. Madam, I looked over your whole list.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Sure.
She had taken all of her clothes that were in the closet, everything she owned, and put them in the car, filled up her trunk and her back seat with her clothes. She had been tired of her clothes being in her car and living out of her car, so approximately 2 or 3 days before this had happened, she said, you know what, I'm tired of everything being wrinkled. Suzanne said, no problem, hang everything up. So she brought everything up, hung everything up. I took home the dirty laundry and brought it back.
I'm telling you, please give me a break. This case, $200 for, what is your name, Mr. Puff?
Grotman.
You're Grotman. You're Puff?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You're going to get $2,000 to replace your wardrobe, madam, and you're getting $200 to replace your shirt and your dungarees and your flip-flops. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Quite frankly, I think she needs help.
Your face still has craters in it. Why don't you get some plastic surgery? How about a nose job?
And now the next case.
Bodies on Beckman versus Hunter. Step forward, please.
42-year-old service technician Gary Beckham is suing his neighbors Chris and Jamie Hunter, claiming their 3-year-old daughter Tiffany scratched his truck with a knife. The Hunters are countersuing Mr. Beckham for harassment.
That is the villain?
That is the villain, yes.
Cures him. However, according to your complaint, Mr. Beckman, this little girl over here is 3 years old, your daughter, took a knife or a sharp instrument and damaged your car.
Correct.
You don't deny that you did that?
No, I do not.
However, for some reason you don't feel as if you're responsible for it.
It's not that I don't feel responsible for it. It's the initial lawsuit that he filed was for $1,650 and for 5 days of a rent-a-car, which I felt was a little out of line.
Okay. So it's not so much the issue of whether you are responsible, it's the amount he's suing for.
This is correct, Your Honor.
All right, so let's deal with that first. Sir, do you have the receipts for having the car fixed?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
I'd like to see them, please. Sir, explain this to me, all right?
Okay. I originally sued for $1,650. That was the higher complaint, or the higher estimate that I got to fix my car. Everybody was telling me that it could not be buffed out. I do have pictures of the damage.
But it was.
When it was all said and done, I had a limit, Your Honor, and I had to turn it in. I was 2 days away from turning it in when the damage got done, okay? They gave me a 30-day extension to get the thing fixed. I took it down to Crown Dodge. I says, fix it. Buff it out, paint it, whatever you need to do.
Okay.
I need to get rid of my car. They came back and said it was buffed out, fine. The dealership bought the car back. And so now I amended my complaint to $75, which was the cost of the buff out.
Oh, that's easy. See that? Out of pocket $75.
Correct.
Very good. So we've taken care of his claim against you for $75 from $1,650. So far, you're ahead of the game. Now, you have a counterclaim against him for $2,000. You want to explain this to me?
Well, Your Honor, just shortly after this incident happened on the 13th, a lady shows up at my door. She's from Child Protective Services. Somebody has called and filed this report here, anonymously, about my care and conduct of my 2 children. Now, when this incident happened with Mr. Beckham's truck, I was at work. They're generally really good kids, but this woman saw that. She knew that we took good care of our children. She closed this case, finding it unfounded, but noted that the day that the claim was filed on the 15th for this incident is the same day that that anonymous phone call to PSSA was made. There have been countless number of vulgar, rude, insulting...
Well, let me start with this. Did you call in this report to Child Protective Services, sir?
Me and about 5 other people have called Child Protective Services.
You called?
Yes, I have called.
Did you call on the date that this happened with your car?
No, I did not.
When did you call, sir?
It had to be 2 weeks later.
What made you call Child Protective Services 2 weeks later?
Just the vulgar language that I heard come out of their older son. He was talking to some girls, vulgar language. Something needed to be said.
When you're talking about their older son, you're talking about this little boy here?
Yes, Tyler.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The way he was talking to them, the vulgar language he was using, okay, that was conduct unbecoming of those 6-year-olds.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 42-year-old service technician Gary Beckham says Chris and Jamie Hunter's 3-year-old daughter Tiffany scratched his truck with a knife. The Hunters claim Mr. Beckham continually harasses them.
So you called Child Protective Services, sir, because he was using vulgar language?
Among other things, yes.
Well, give me the other things.
Well, he was exposing himself to the girls, too. And that is not conduct of a 6-year-old boy.
Tell me what you mean by he was exposing himself, what you saw, sir.
I saw him take himself and show it to these 2 little girls. I even talked to the fathers of the 2 little girls. And the way he was talking to them, the vulgar language he was using, okay, that was conduct unbecoming of a 6-year-old. So I had to let somebody, in my good conscience, I have 2 boys, I have to let somebody know. So I called PSSA.
Well, what about the fathers of the two little girls?
I have no idea what they did. None whatsoever. I'm pretty sure that they were upset. They live right next door to these guys.
How many calls had been called into Child Protective Services?
This is the only one that you have any note that I know anything about, Your Honor. And Mr. Beckham nor two other girls, his father, have never come and spoke to me or my husband. And this is the first we've ever heard of this.
So what happened after this?
The case
was closed.
The case was closed and unfounded. It's just a constant and endless battle that we're bad to our children. We're not taking care of them. Just, it's been one thing after another, all resolving back to a 3-year-old scratching this track. And I just didn't feel it was right.
Well, the fact that it may not have been right does not make it the subject of a lawsuit. Mr. Beckham.
Yes.
Let me tell you what I have a problem with, sir.
Okay.
You know I take child abuse, child neglect very seriously. The fact that you allegedly saw this little boy do what you have described is not child abuse, and it's not necessarily neglect.
Okay.
It is the kind of thing that a normal person would, if there was a normal relationship between neighbors, result in you ringing their doorbell and saying, this is what I saw your little boy doing. You might want to have a talk with him. And you know, if you have children, sir,
yes,
you know that kids do that sort of thing. That doesn't necessarily mean that the child is being abused or neglected by his parents. So when you use Child Protective Services for other kind of relief, that takes away caseworkers from doing their legitimate work. That means the time they spent going out on this nonsense, they can't be investigating legitimate cases. That's wrong.
Well, you know, Your Honor, when you see somebody exposing himself to two other little girls...
You're talking about a 6-year-old, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're talking about a 6-year-old.
I let the only appropriate people that I knew, other than management of the trailer park, which...
No, you let the right people know about it. You let the fathers of the two little girls know what you had seen.
Correct.
So that they could take appropriate steps, which means that they could have come to speak to these people. They could have said to their two little girls, I don't want you to play with that little boy anymore. They could have taken specific precautions. What you did was wrong.
Okay.
Pay for your own car. This lawsuit and the counterclaim are dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go, out the back door to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next judge...
Keeman versus Tolbert. Step forward, please.
Restaurant manager Phyllis Keeman says her employee, 16-year-old Bethany Tolbert, called her foul names and split her head open with a telephone. Bethany claims it was an accident.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 184 on the calendar in the matter of Keeman versus Tolbert.
Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, sir. Ma'am, have a seat.
According to these papers, Ms. Keeman, the defendant, this young lady, assaulted you at a fast food restaurant where you are a manager and she was an employee.
Correct.
When did this happen?
On December the 26th, approximately 8 p.m. in Cincinnati, Ohio on Vine Street.
How long had you been working at this restaurant?
I was a substitute manager, but I had worked there maybe 3 or 4 times. My main home as a manager was in Tri-County.
And how long have you been working for this establishment?
2 years, 3 years approximately.
And what kind of work did you do there?
I was just on the register.
You mean you were a cashier?
Uh-huh.
How long had you been working there?
I had worked there for about 3 months, and then I was like on a leave. I didn't work for about a month, and then I had just came back. It was like my 3rd day back.
3rd day?
Mm-hmm.
Had you met her before?
No.
So, Ms. Keeman, would you tell me what happened on this day in December?
On December the 26th, I was a substitute manager at Hardee's Restaurant, and we always have a main duty of like working on the cash register and secondary duties, sweep the floor, get iced tea ready and such priorities. I had given her task to do, and she was on the phone. Beth Tolbert.
You're her mother?
Yes, I'm your mother.
And I gave Beth Tolbert her duties, and she was on the phone. I came back a little bit later after cleaning the restrooms and doing some of her chores, and she was still on the phone. And I repeated that she must get off the phone. I thought maybe I'll give her a break because I'm a benevolent manager. And I gave her another chance to please do her duties and get off the phone. She stated she wanted to call her mother, but I don't know who she called. And there was a lot of profanity and a great deal of yelling on front line. As a manager...
Okay, so let me stop you right there. Yelling and profanity by whom?
Beth Tolbert.
And who was she yelling at?
Somebody on the telephone telling them what a mean vulgarity word I was, making her do something other than just ring on the cash register.
And where is the phone situated as opposed to where the patrons are?
The phone is situated by drive-through, and she was on front line. She had to go over and use the phone behind an wall, like, to use the phone.
But she was supposed to be on the cash register.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So she couldn't be on the cash register if she was on the phone?
That's correct.
Well, after there was a lot of profanity, did she finally hang up the phone?
I asked her to please clock out. I gave her a choice.
Clock out meaning?
Meaning that she should leave the restaurant, and that's all. She would be paid for the day that she could go home. She had a choice, either get off the phone or clock out. So I finally asked her to clock out. I said, if you don't leave, I will have to call the police, because at that point it's criminal trespassing. And we are taught in our managerial duties that you exercise this to the employees, that they do have other duties, and that when they're off the clock they could use the phone, but not when they're supposed to be doing their work assignments. That's my managerial right. And I asked her, I said, would you please clock out? And she went to the cash register to clock out. She said, give me that phone, I'll call the police. And I had it up to my ear and was ready to call the police. And I faked it the first time, hoping she'd shape up and quit the profanity.
What do you
that
mean
would be
faked
the end.
it?
I called the police, but I didn't get to talk to anybody because one of the employees unplugged the receiver and I was talking to no one. And by that time she said, give me the phone, I will call the police. And I saw her heave back with the receiver of the phone, and I ducked. But unfortunately, I did not duck far enough. And I was hit with the phone up here. I didn't want to get it in the eye, and I saw it coming. And there was blood all over in my...
Right in the front of your head?
Yes, see the scar.
Could you step up, please? My eyes aren't as good as they used to be.
Likewise.
All right, there's about a scar that appears to be about 2.5 inches long. This is the mark right here that you're talking about?
Yes, and it was 3 deep, and I had a picture.
Did you see this? Did you see the scar on her forehead?
No, I haven't.
Well, would you step back, Bird? Would you accompany the plaintiff and let the defendant and her mother look at that scar? Okay. You had stitches in your head?
Yes.
How many?
I had 12 to 14 on the top layer, and they told me it was 3 deep. I have no idea what the total is. I have medical reports.
How long were you out of work?
I was out of work. I was told to stay off by 3 weeks. I was told after 8 days.
Don't tell me what you were told. Just tell me how long you stayed out of work. 3 weeks?
4, 5 days.
And tell me what kind of pain, if any, you had in your head.
I have never had headaches in my life, and I have one every day since I have been hit. I am also losing my eyesight in this eye, which the doctors are watching me very closely. I have all my medical reports, Your Honor.
Now, you were arrested, is that correct?
No.
Were you taken into police custody at any time?
No, I wasn't.
Are you telling me that there was no trial in any other court? Because according to these papers, there was a trial in another court.
Yes, there was a trial, but I'm saying I didn't get arrested or anything. The police didn't take me.
How did you get to court, madam?
We got a letter in the mail.
It was a hearing. She filed a juvenile complaint. Ms. Keeman did it. And that's where we went to court for a hearing, an assault charge.
Okay, well, that's a trial. Hearing is a trial.
Yes.
It's just that you are 16, is that right?
17.
17?
She was 16 when it occurred.
All right, let's hear your version of what happened.
Okay. When I got there, Phyllis was with another manager there. And she was a really nice person when the other manager was there. And like if you get a break or something, no matter what, when people come in, you have to go back to the register. And so and I had a sandwich, and the whole time I had to keep coming back and forth. I couldn't go.
Couldn't go where?
I couldn't go to my break. I couldn't eat my sandwich because people kept coming in. So then the manager had finally left, and there was no more. It was like we were completely dead, and I went ahead and ate my sandwich. And then Phyllis, she got mad because she didn't know that I had asked the other manager right before she had left or anything. And so that that's kind of how the attitude started towards me. And the phone rang, and she answered the phone, and it was for me, and she told me I could use it. And I got on it, and
Who was on the phone?
It was just one of my friends. He asked, "What are you doing?" "Nothing, working." And then she runs back, "Get off the phone now. You can't be sitting here talking about me and all this stuff." And I hadn't said a thing about her. And, I got off the phone. And I was told to sweep behind the counter. So I said, okay. And while I was sweeping and everything, she was over by the bathrooms just screaming something at us. And we couldn't hear her. And, And
what do you mean you couldn't hear? If she was screaming, how could you not hear her?
We could hear her yelling, but we couldn't hear what she was saying.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's allowed to give you an attitude, madam. She's the boss, applesauce.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Restaurant manager Phyllis Keeman is suing her former employee Bethany Tolbert, claiming she split her head open. Bethany says it was an accident.
You said she was screaming at you, but how do you know she was screaming at you if she was screaming at all if you couldn't hear her?
No, I'm saying that she was yelling. She was just yelling something towards us when we didn't know what she was saying. And then she came up to the front. She finally came up, and she got directly in front of me, and she screamed it again. And so
she screamed what?
She screamed to get over and mop this effing floor now. And so I heard her, but I said, "What you say?" Because I was kind of upset because she was right in my face. And so she said, "Yo, you didn't hear that?" And so she repeated it again. And I told her I was sweeping the floor, and I said, you really don't have to speak to me that way. And she said, "Oh, I'll talk to you how the F I want to talk to you," and all this stuff. And so that's when me and her started arguing. And so she told me to clock out. And the thing with that job is that on any hour, there's a print off that goes off, and it's 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after, and you can't clock out within that 10 minutes. And it was 8 o'clock on the dot, and I couldn't clock out. And I told her, and so she picked up the phone and said she was calling the police. Then she hung up the phone. She got on the phone and said she had an insubordinate employee and she wanted her arrested, and hung up the phone. That's all she said. And so, I kept telling her, I couldn't clock out. She's like, "Get out of here." She's screaming and everything, acting like I was going to hurt her or something. And I'm 12 feet away from her. So I said, well, look, I said, you need to call them back and tell them that I have 5 minutes, and I'll leave in 5 minutes, because we have always been we were told that we're not allowed to let any managers clock on our, ringing on our registers. We're not allowed to let anybody clock us out, and no matter what the reason is. So I couldn't clock out, and I didn't know her either, and so I said, well, I'll call them. I said, I'll call them back. And so I went and I picked up the phone. The phone was on the receiver. I picked up the phone. She grabbed me and started shaking me. And that's how we were pulling each other like this. And she finally pulled the phone out of my hand. And that's how she got hit.
Show me with your mother how that happened. Let's say your mother is the plaintiff. Show me, Miss Tolbert, because that's what you said in your answer. You just showed me this motion that you were tugging over the phone. So show me how she got hit on the top of the head.
Okay. She's shorter than me. It's like the way.
Use the cup as the phone.
All right. Okay, so this will be the phone, and I'm holding it. And I'm pulling it like this, and she's holding me here.
Would you do that, please?
I grab the phone.
Okay, she's grabbing me here and on my wrist.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pulling back and forth like this. And that's how she got hit, and she finally pulled it out of my hand.
That's how she got hit, on the top of her head?
Yeah, she's shorter than me.
Now, you weren't there, is that right?
That's correct, I wasn't.
Do you know anything about this case?
Yes, ma'am.
From your daughter?
from the testimonies that I've heard, all of them.
I've heard the testimony. I don't have to rely on anybody else's hearing the testimony of the witnesses. I'm relying on common sense. You do not get, if you're struggling over a telephone, a gash to the top of the head that's 3 inches long. You don't get that. I've heard this lady testify. It doesn't sound to me as if this is the kind of lady who is going to use the F word over and over again in speaking to your daughter. I want to tell you that. Just doesn't strike me that way. Now, I have just a couple of other questions for you. You took a leave, you said, from this job for a month. Why?
I was sick.
What was the matter with you?
I have migraines, and I was having some stomach problems and stuff.
How many jobs have you had?
I've been working since I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
So one job I worked there for 2 years.
What happened to that job?
I quit.
Why?
Because it was old to me. I found a better one.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's a very good actor, and that's what her really job should be.
And later today,
Just a second. I know what your argument is. I'm very smart. This is not a complicated case. You know, this is not the Scopes trial.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Restaurant manager Phyllis Keenan is suing her former employee Bethany Tolbert, claiming she split her head open. Bethany says it was an accident.
You assaulted this lady. She was your boss. Let me tell you something about bosses. And your mother, who takes your side in this case, even though she wasn't there, better listen very carefully. Life is sometimes not fair. And when you raise children, you're supposed to raise children to understand that there are certain authority figures. Like you start out when you're a teacher in a school. As a teacher in a school, my mother always taught me that right or wrong, the teacher was right at that moment. When the teacher told me to do something, I did it. I may come home and complain to my mother later, but I don't tell the teacher to go take a walk. I learned that when I was 6, and I learned that when I was 20, and I taught that to my children. Is that what you learned, Bird?
That's what I learned.
And then you go through life and you have bosses. And sometimes you have good bosses, and sometimes you don't have good bosses. And sometimes they're nice people, and sometimes they're not so nice people. But while they're your bosses, you listen to them. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like it, you say, I don't like this job, I'm leaving. What happened with your daughter is you didn't teach her that right from the beginning. Probably said to her, you stand up for what you think is right to your teachers when you're 6 and to your boss when you're 16. It's not what happens. I've gone through life having a lot of bosses that I didn't like, who told me a lot of stupid things. And I knew that they were stupid when they told it to me. I did them until I got disgusted, and then I said, I'm going to find another job. That's what you do.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, I had no problem with whatever. When she was telling me to do things, I had no problem doing that. I mean, I've been working since I was 14. I can go ahead and do the work.
Are you telling me that she cursed you out using the F curse word?
She sure did.
I don't believe you. What do you think about that? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I mean, just like when you said in your answer, when she said to you, put down the phone or go and sweep the floor, you said to me, what did you say to me? Even though you told me just now that you heard every word that she said. You gave her an attitude.
Mm-hmm. She gave me one.
She's allowed to give you an attitude, madam. She's the boss, applesauce.
Oh, I know she's the boss, but she can't curse at me like that.
She's the boss, applesauce. So you better work really hard because she's got a 3-inch scar. She's got headaches. You had no reason to assault her. She's suing you for pain and suffering, and she's going to get the money for pain and suffering that she's suing for. Judgment in this case is $5,000 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll back to your right, please.
And I feel sorry for the other employees that have to work under her.
She's going to hell for all his lying. That's about it.
And now the next case.
Parties on Rusk versus Nelson. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Brandon Rusk says he and 5 other seniors rented a limo for their prom. He's suing 18-year-old Krista Nelson, claiming she didn't pay her share.
Not a difficult case. You had a senior prom, a senior ball. You decided to take a limousine.
All right, on May 31st, like you said, we had our senior ball. There were 3 couples, me, my girlfriend, Krista, her date, and...
Krista,
her date.
Me. Your date, Jeff, according to your papers.
Yes.
And her witness, Jason, and his date.
And this gentleman.
Yes.
So, did you know her date, Jeff?
No, I did not.
Who did you make your arrangement with to share the cost of this limousine?
It was me, Krista here, and Jason State.
That's not true because it was 6 ways. You happened to be paying for Colette, and Katie happened to be paying for Jason, but Jeff was...
Just a minute, it's getting too complicated. Mr. Rusk, you paid for the whole limousine.
Yes, I did.
And it came out to $175 per couple.
Yes, it did.
Correct, and my date was supposed to pay for it.
Just a second. You got your money from Jason.
Jason, yes, I did.
He gave you the $175.
Yes, he did.
Your problem is, Miss Nelson says that she's only paying for part of the limousine because she had a lousy time at the prom with Jeff. She's not talking to him anymore. And he didn't pay for his share. Is that the case?
That's the case with me, but my argument is that I never knew
Just
her
a second. I know what your argument is. I'm very smart. This is not a complicated case. You know, this is not the Scopes trial. When you made arrangements for this limousine, did you speak to him or did Jeff speak to him?
I spoke to him.
Stop! Say nothing else. Just answer my questions. You spoke to him. Did he ever meet Jeff before the prom? When?
Yes. We met at Columbia Pool for a while, and then we went over to Colette's house for a while. He knew, it was clear that Jeff was paying for our portion of the limo.
Just a second. The arrangement was that each of the 3 couples would pay, and you made that initial arrangement with him. Is that right?
Correct.
And then you had a conversation with your date, Jeff.
Right.
Right. Just a minute. Right. And your conversation with your date, Jeff, was, are you going to pay for this limousine?
Correct.
And Jeff said yes.
Right. And I told Brandon.
That had nothing to do with Brandon. You're Brandon, right?
Yes,
Brandon Russ. Your original agreement with him was, when he arranged for this limousine, that your third was going to be paid.
Yes.
You then had a conversation with Jeff.
No. No, from the very beginning, we all sat down and made plans together that we were going to go. We contacted the limo place, everything.
Who's we?
All of us. We all got together and did it besides Jeff. Jeff was the only one who wasn't there.
Right.
But I told Brandon from the beginning that Jeff would be paying, that I was going to get Jeff to pay for our portion of the limo.
That's your problem.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Don't you hear what you're saying, madam? Jeff wasn't there when you made the arrangements. He relied on the fact that you, as his friend, were going to be responsible for a third of it. You later spoke to Jeff, because Jeff wasn't there when you made these arrangements, according to your own statement. Look, you gotta pay for your portion. You want to sue Jeff? Sue him. He shouldn't be out the money.
And I agree.
Good. $175 for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Bettis versus Stipke. Step forward, please.
35-year-old housewife Cynthia Bettis is suing 35-year-old Mike Stipke, claiming he broke a table when he fell over in a drunken stupor at her daughter's birthday party. Mr. Stipke is countersuing for his medical bills.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 269 on the calendar in the matter of Bettis versus Stipke. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please. Have a seat.
You had a birthday party at your house for your daughter Nicole
and Christina.
And Christina.
We also celebrated 2 other children's birthday at that time.
And according to this complaint, one of the other children who was celebrating a birthday was the daughter of a friend of yours.
Yes.
Who brought this gentleman to the party.
Yes.
So you came, sir, as an invited guest.
Yes, ma'am.
Of this lady?
Yes.
Let's see how smart I am. Your claim is that while he was at the party, he was drunk?
Yes.
And he destroyed some furniture?
Yes.
Were you drunk?
No, ma'am. I had 3 or 4 beers at the most. They had other people drinking. Her sister and her husband were also drinking a beer.
Who cares about a sister and her brother? They didn't break furniture.
No, they did not.
Well, why'd you go to the birthday party and drink?
Nah, I just had a few beers.
Uh-huh. Why don't you tell me, sir, how it came about that you broke this furniture? Describe what happened to me, if you remember.
Diane had threw a piece of ice up to me.
Just a second. Diane, that's you.
Right.
Stand up there, Diane, because I found that interesting. So she threw what?
A piece of ice up in the air.
Ice.
Ice.
Where were you standing at this time?
On the patio.
On the patio.
Describe how you threw a piece of ice. How far were you standing apart?
3 feet.
Well, move over another foot.
About like this.
About that far? And you, what were you doing? Your hands weren't behind your back, sir. What were you doing? You're holding a beer?
Yeah.
Yes.
Make like you're holding a beer, right? All right.
And a cigarette.
And you're, what?
And a cigarette in the other hand.
Cigarette in the other hand?
Yes.
I don't remember.
Make like a cigarette in the other hand. Now, Diane, show me what you were doing.
I just tossed a piece of ice up.
An ice cube?
Yes. It was out of the ice chest. Actually, it was out of my cup, but Mike lifted his head up, and he stepped
No, just
back.
you're going to show me. Toss the ice. Go ahead. Toss it. Go.
And when I went back, I hit the end of the table and went down and then busted my head open on a toy chest.
Just a second. I'm not interested with your head. I'm interested in the table. Right? You broke the table.
The end piece, yeah.
The end piece of the table.
Right.
Because you were acting like a fool at a children's birthday party. He had 3 or 4 beers. She's throwing ice cubes at you, and you're catching them in your mouth, right? And I say this to you, sir, because to add insult to injury, you filed a countersuit in this case. You're suing her because you fell and broke your head and split your head open. What does that have to do with her? What does that have to do with her?
That was her house, and I was on her property, and I went through pain and suffering to the deal.
So whose fault was that?
It was my fault.
So what are you suing her for?
For the pain and suffering I went through.
Why is your pain and suffering her problem? If you get it, listen to me, sir. If you get out of bed in the middle of the night, right, to go to the bathroom, and you stub your toe on a chair, and you break your toe, do you sue the chair manufacturer? Huh?
No.
No. Now, the table didn't have 3 or 4 beers and move. Right?
No.
So I'm really trying to understand what was in your mind when you filed this countersuit. Her lawsuit, I understand.
Okay.
Okay. That was easy.
Okay.
That was easy. Okay. Is that pretty much what happened?
In general, yes. We offered to call 911 or take him to the hospital. He refused.
You were
No,
being...
no, that is not true.
Doesn't make any difference. I want to know about the table.
Okay. Basically, the table was broke on one side, and he broke a chair.
So did you have it fixed? Were you able to repair it?
We tried to get it fixed. They were not able to fix the table and the
How
chair.
did he break a chair?
He was sitting in it, and when he leant over to get a beer off the table, he broke the chair.
He broke the... Well, that happened before the table.
Right.
You remember that?
No, there was no chair broken, no.
You don't remember a broken chair?
No.
There was not a chair broken.
How was it broken? You have a picture of it?
Yes, we do. It's basically just a little metal hinge that fits into the grooves of the side of the chair. It's a folding chair, little wooden folding chair. And
so did you fix the folding chair?
No, there's nowhere to fix the metal piece.
Did the party continue on after this happened with this fall?
Once they left, the party did end, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
He fell backwards, and I came watching over there, and Mommy and Mommy's friend and Diane, they tried to doctor him, but they rushed him to the hospital.
Thank you. Did you have a good time at your birthday party? You didn't. Why not? Why not?
It's okay.
You can tell me. Tell me your name.
Tina, fix it. Tina. You offered to fix it.
No, she's all right. She's all right. I won't ask her any more questions.
Thank you.
Evidently, she didn't have such a good time at the birthday party.
No. She does not want me to throw any more parties for her again because of what happened.
Why?
Because basically she seen him walking around drunk and fall down and shed blood all over at her birthday party.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was told they were going to pay $50 each Sunday. I did not get any money, so I took matters into my own hands.
And later today,
I certainly wouldn't make damage in broad daylight with a neighbor walking outside in the street.
The police were there, and he fled.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 35-year-old Cynthia Bettis says Mike Stipke ruined her daughter's birthday party when he got drunk and broke a table. Mike says it was all an accident and is countersuing for medical bills.
How much is the table worth?
About $200.
Okay.
I have a letter from the lady who owns the table.
You borrowed the table from somebody else?
My in-laws did. They borrowed the table for the party.
Okay, well, it has to be replaced. And you have to pay for it. Don't be foolish.
I did offer to pay for it.
So then what are we doing here?
I asked for the money to be delivered, $50 every Sunday, and they agreed upon it, and it never came through.
I offered to write her a check in the whole full amount and have Mike pay me back because I live 3 blocks from him.
So?
I never got that offer.
She says, I'm going away for the weekend. I'll call you when I get back. We'll make arrangements to happen. She didn't call.
Why don't you just drop off the check?
Why should I go over there? She made it clear she didn't want me over there.
Why don't you just send the check in the mail? Say, I'm sorry this happened, sorry
I
spoiled
am
the
sorry it
birthday
happened,
party.
and I made that quite clear to her.
All right, well, it's a very unfortunate circumstance. Sir, you understand that you owe $200. That's for the table. I mean, little girls who had a birthday party, one of them had a good time. The older one didn't. She probably understands a little bit more about what was going on. Certainly, you know that your countersuit has absolutely no merit. If you act like a fool, sometimes you get hurt. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $200.
Do I get the table?
Do you get the table?
Yes.
No, you get the judgment.
Okay.
Parties are excused. Step out.
Thank you. What a jerk.
Back door to your right, please.
It was an accident and it happened. I'm sorry that I broke the table.
Thank you. I'd like you to apologize to the kids that you ruined their party.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
Parties on Oakray versus Engler. Step forward, please.
ATM saleswoman Marlene Opray is suing her business associate Roger Engler, charging he vandalized her car. Roger says she's retaliating against him over a business deal gone bad.
All right, Miss Opray, you claim that the defendant vandalized your car.
Yes.
By keying it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why would he do such a thing?
As retaliatory for not working with me any longer.
Well, tell me about that.
We just had a court case in San Francisco about 2.5 weeks ago to where he tried to say I owed him a sum of money for the month of June.
He was an employee of yours?
No, he was a self-contractor only if he were to sell ATM machines.
Okay, so he was an independent contractor.
Yes, Your Honor.
So he sued you last month.
And he lost because he didn't produce, he didn't make one sale.
Whatever. He lost.
That's right.
When was the car vandalized?
August 25th.
And when was the court case?
October 7th.
So the car was vandalized before the court case?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Did you report it vandalized?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Where was it vandalized? Tell me about it.
It was in my carport. My daughter saw him do it, and this is Linda, my daughter. Hi. And the police came immediately after he had done this, and he fled. If he hadn't done it, why would he flee from the police?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have to tell you what he said in our last court case on October 7th when I told him I had 2 witnesses 2 weeks ago. And he says, nobody saw me do it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. ATM saleswoman Marlene Opre says her former business associate Roger Engler keyed her car, causing severe damage. Roger denies he did anything wrong.
You say, your mother says at least, that you actually observed him.
Yes, I did.
Tell me what you saw.
Your Honor, he came to the house around 8:30 or 9 in the morning. I answered the door, and this gentleman was at my mom's door. He asked if Marlene Opre was there. I asked who he was. He did not want to leave a name with me. I seen he had a white envelope in his hand. I said I was her daughter. I would be more glad to give it to her, and he refused to give it to me. So I shut the door. I went in, I told my mom, she was in the shower at the time. My mom asked him to come back in 30 minutes, asked what he looked like, and this and that. I described him. She couldn't place him. So I went back and I told this gentleman. He wasn't too happy about it. He said he had come a long distance to give this to my mother. And I said, well, like I said, if you want to come back in 30 minutes. I shut my door. I went into my room. Not even 2 minutes later, I heard a screeching noise outside. It's right outside my bedroom window. There's a carport. My car was parked there as well as my mother's. I didn't have any clothes on because I answered the door. I was in my pajamas. I opened it up halfway. I went to go put my pants on to run out there to see what he was doing. He was kneeling down on the other side of my mom's car on the right rear tire. So I got my pants on. I ran out there. At that time, this gentleman was pulling away. I ran out after him. He kept going. He did see me. I saw him look in his rearview mirror. There was another gentleman walking in the park there where we live. He said this gentleman had parked there for a while there.
You can't tell me what the other gentleman said. So you actually saw him kneeling against your mother's car?
Yes, I did.
You did not actually see him scratch your mother's car?
I seen him kneeling there. I heard a noise.
You heard a noise,
yes.
And you saw him kneeling near the car?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Had you parked the car there the evening before?
Yes, I did.
And when you parked the car there, can you describe its condition to me?
It was good. I mean, I'd been driving
it?
all day. I had not been out of the car. I'd been on a long trip. And I'd parked there about 11:30 at night. And, Your Honor, we have security at the park, so nobody came in.
Do you have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
May I see it, please?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Engler, I'll hear you, sir.
Okay. It's a nice story. Mostly none of it was true, but that's a nice story. Number one, we were partners. I had letters to show that we were business partners. We had gone on a number of trips together. We were supposed to share income and so on.
I'm not interested in the other lawsuit, sir.
No, I
you
understand.
lost the other lawsuit.
I'm just giving background. She owed me money. She kept on promising she was going to pay money. And then all of a sudden she was disappearing and she wasn't returning calls. And she wasn't returning calls. We had been in for 3 months on the phone every single day, once, twice, sometimes 3 times a day, many times.
I'm not interested in that. You went to her house at 8:30 in the morning.
No,
for what purpose?
First of all, it was 9:30 in the morning.
9:30.
Okay, there was.
For what purpose?
For what purpose? I went to give her a letter in her hand saying we dissolved the partnership between us. And that's what I went to deliver. Her daughter came to the door. She was dressed. The door was open. She said, who are you? And I said, I just came here to give your mother a piece of paper. She said, let me go back and find out. She came back and she said, my mother's in the shower. Can you come back in 30 minutes? There was a gentleman walking in the street that we exchanged pleasantries. That was the extent of it.
Can I see the police report, please?
Yes, ma'am.
As far as I can see, is simply retaliation. It's whatever she can do. Nothing to do with me.
I see the police were called, sir, on that day, on the 25th of August. So it's clearly not retaliatory because you evidently did not proceed in court until October. Your judgment wasn't until October, the judgment dismissing your suit. She made this complaint the very day of the incident.
Okay. First of all, her car has had many damages on it that she's never repaired. I can't testify as to what scratches and things she had on the car or why she did what she did.
This is a key mark, sir.
Okay, but it could have been there.
This is a key mark.
It was not there.
Here.
Okay.
Show him.
It was not there.
Okay, it's a key mark. You know, But that doesn't mean that I had anything to do with it. It could have been that I could tell you that she had damages on her car that she's never repaired, and she's using it as an excuse. You know, if it was vandalism, as she claims, then in fact, from what I understand, it's a criminal act. Why didn't the police come, call me, do whatever they want, arrest me? There's no logic.
Your Honor.
Let's see. Just a second. You were given information on how to get a temporary restraining order against him. Did you do that?
No, I didn't because I left on a long cruise. And like the police department said, if you're gone, I went all the way up to Alaska and Canada. There was no sense in getting a restraining order. I was going to be gone.
For how long?
I was gone for 12 days.
Mm-hmm.
The cruise was before I even went there. The reason I know that is because one of her customers I had spoken to her and called me. The cruise was before.
What kind of business are you in, sir?
I'm in the ATM business. I sell ATM cash dispensers, credit card processing, and so on. I was never an employee of hers. I was never a contract laborer of hers. I had my own company. She approached me to be a partner with her and hers.
I just asked you, shh. Have you ever been arrested?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. When?
2 years ago.
For what?
It was considered insurance fraud at the time. Although it was my own property. It was my own property that was stolen, and it was a nonsense thing, but that's how it was.
And you were convicted?
Yes.
Is that your first arrest, sir?
No.
Was the arrest just prior to that?
That was a case that was dropped on an advertising program that was eventually dropped.
Mm-hmm. How long was your probation on the insurance fraud?
2 years.
When is your probation up?
Oh, it was up before I came to California.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
This is not a criminal case. Criminal case, the burden of proof is proof by beyond a reasonable doubt that an act was committed. The quantum of proof in a civil case, and this is a civil case, is more evidence than not, what we call a preponderance of the credible evidence that an event occurred. So I must make a determination based upon common sense and based upon what I've heard, whether I am satisfied by a preponderance of the credible evidence, that is more evidence than not, that you did in fact key her car. I'm satisfied. So you have the estimates for the damage?
Yes, and it's already been taken care of.
$1,241.25 is what you paid to have the car repainted on both sides. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,241. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next
step forward.
Hello, xin chào mọi người. Hôm nay mình sẽ cùng nhau chia sẻ là trã chưa có mọc rang thì trã có ăn thu được không? Đó. Thì nhiều trã nó sẽ mọc rang chậm. Đó. Khi mà nó được 9-10 tháng mà trã nó vẫn cái răng nó vẫn chưa phát triển, chưa có lên nhiều thì nhiều bậc bố mẹ sẽ sợ. Khi mà trã nó chưa có rang thì mình sẽ cho trã ăn như vậy thì nó sẽ dễ bị hắt, dễ bị mất cổ. Cái này là nó sẽ không nha mọi người. Thì các bạn mà theo phương pháp mà ăn dặm tự chỉ huy thì cái lúc mà mới vừa tập ăn thôi, nó đã ăn những cái loại rau củ lục rồi. Đó, lúc đó là nó chưa có rang nhưng mà nó đã ăn được rồi. Vì sao? Vì cái hòm của trã này nó có rang, đó, cái níu nó đang có rang ở dưới, mà nó chưa lên thôi, nó vẫn có ở dưới rồi, nó chỉ là chưa có mọc lên thôi, chứ chưa có trầu lên thôi. Cái hòm của trã, cái hòm răng của trã này nó đã rất là chắc chắn rồi, nó có thể nghiền nát được thức ăn. Đó. Khi mà trã nó nó nghiền nát thức ăn được như vậy thì nó sẽ cũng được cái vị ngon của đồ ăn. Đó. Còn nếu như mà mình cứ sợ con nó chưa có rang, nó sẽ dễ bị hóc, thì mình cứ cho trã ăn cháo miếng. Đó. Có rất nhiều bố mẹ là kiểu không tập cho trã ăn thô lên á, càng dần là trã nó không có ăn được, nó không có ăn được cái loại thức ăn thô, cứ cho ăn cháo miết, và ăn cháo miết thì trẻ nó sẽ rất là ớn, và khi mà nó thấy cháu như vậy thì nó rất là không hợp tác đó. Cho nên là cái việc mà mình cho trẻ ăn thô còn nhanh thì còn tốt cho mọi người. Còn nhanh ở đây nghĩa là mình sẽ dựa theo cái độ tuổi, cái thời gian của trẻ, là mình sẽ cho ăn thô một cách hợp lý nhất có thể đó. Việc mà cho ăn thô như vậy thì nó sẽ giúp cho trẻ nó cũng được đồ ăn, nó cầm nó bỏ vào miệng nó cắn như vậy, nó cũng nhận được cái thịt nó ngon như vậy. Nó cầm cái hoa quả này, nó cắn như vậy nó sẽ nhai và cái vị ngon của trái cây nó sẽ lan tỏa trong cái miệng và nó kích thích ăn uống hơn đó, hơn là những cái mà chỉ ăn cháo đút nó không cần phải nhai đó. Cho nên là cái việc mà khi mà trẻ chưa có ra mình vẫn cho trẻ ăn thô được nha mọi người. Cảm ơn mọi người đã coi video của mình nhé. Bye bye.